Tonight, you're going to eat dinner. You're going to feel full. And 20 minutes later, you're going to open the fridge anyway. You'll tell yourself it's just a craving, a weak moment, bad discipline. But the real answer is far stranger. Your brain was never built to know when to stop. Not because it's broken, because it's ancient. And it's still running code written for a world that no longer exists. Start with what full actually means. It sounds simple. Your stomach fills up, a signal gets sent, you stop eating. That's the story most people believe. But your body doesn't work like a bucket. It works like a negotiation. A slow chemical back and forth between your gut, your fat cells, and a walnut-sized region deep in your brain called the hypothalamus. And that negotiation was never designed to end the meal. It was designed to end scarcity. For nearly all of human history, scarcity was the default. Food didn't sit in a bright box on a shelf, waiting. It ran. It hid. It rotted in 3 days if you didn't eat it fast enough. Your ancestors didn't know when the next meal was coming. So evolution didn't build a brain that says, "Stop, you've had enough." It built a brain that says, "Eat now, while you can." That single design choice explains almost everything strange about modern hunger. In 1994, a researcher named Jeffrey Friedman, working at Rockefeller University, discovered a hormone that changed how scientists understood appetite entirely. He called it leptin. It's released by your fat cells, and it's supposed to tell your brain, "We have enough stored energy, you can ease off." In theory, more fat should mean more leptin, which should mean less hunger. A perfect thermostat. But that's not what happens in most people today. Instead, the signal gets ignored. Scientists call it leptin resistance. Your brain stops listening to the very hormone meant to tell it to stop. Why would a signal just stop working? Here's where it gets interesting. Your hunger system isn't one dial. It's two competing forces. One is homeostatic hunger, the slow, biological kind, driven by leptin, insulin, and a hormone called ghrelin that rises right before a meal and falls after. This is the ancient system. It evolved over millions of years in a world of unpredictable food, heavy physical labor, and meals built from whole, unprocessed ingredients. The other force is hedonic hunger. Hunger driven by pleasure, not need. Hunger for a taste, a texture, a memory. And hedonic hunger doesn't care how much leptin is in your blood. It can override the entire system. This is where your environment quietly betrays you. In 2019, a researcher at the National Institutes of Health named Kevin Hall ran an experiment that should have been front-page news. He took 20 adults and gave them free access to 2 diets, matched for calories, sugar, fat, and fiber. One diet was made of minimally processed whole foods. The other was made of ultra-processed foods, the engineered kind, built to maximize flavor and speed of eating. The result was almost immediate. On the ultra-processed diet, people ate about 500 extra calories a day, without noticing, without trying to. Their bodies simply didn't register fullness the same way. The food itself was quietly disabling the ancient stop signal. Think about what that means. It's not just what you eat. It's how fast your brain can even recognize what you've eaten. Your ancestors ate food that fought back. Raw roots, tough meat, fibrous plants that took real effort to chew and digest. That slowness mattered. It gave your gut time to release the hormones that eventually reach your brain and say, calmly, "We're good now." Modern food skips that step entirely. It's soft. It's fast. It's often liquid calories in disguise. By the time your body would have said stop, the meal is already finished, and the next craving has already started. There's an even older piece to this puzzle. In 2009, the anthropologist Richard Wrangham at Harvard proposed something that reshaped how scientists think about human evolution itself. He argued that cooking, not tools, not hunting, was the single innovation that made the human brain possible. Cooked food is easier to digest. It delivers more usable energy for less chewing and less gut effort. Once early humans started cooking, their bodies could shrink the digestive system and grow the brain instead. Your massive, energy-hungry brain exists because your ancestors learned to make food easier to extract calories from. But that same trick has a shadow side. If easier to digest food built your brain, then today's ultra-easy, ultra-processed food is just cooking's most extreme descendant. Your ancestors spent one discovery, fire, to unlock more energy from food. Modern industry spent a century of engineering to do the same thing, at a scale evolution never anticipated. Your ancient reward system, the one built to seek out rare, calorie-dense food and remember exactly where to find it again, is now surrounded by that food constantly, every hour, every corner, every screen. So when you stand in front of the fridge 20 minutes after dinner, you're not failing at willpower. You're being out-negotiated by a system with two settings, scarcity and abundance. And your brain has never lived through a real, lasting abundance before. Not for the 10,000 generations that shaped it. Only for the last 2 or 3. Here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. Fullness was never meant to be permanent. It was only ever meant to be a pause. A brief truce in a war your body has been fighting since before agriculture, before fire, before language. Every time you feel satisfied and then hungry again an hour later near a bowl of chips, that's not a glitch. That's the oldest survival strategy your species has, still running, still trying to protect you from a famine that stopped being a real threat generations ago. Does that mean you're powerless? Not exactly. Understanding the mechanism changes what you're actually fighting. You're not fighting a lack of discipline. You're fighting a mismatch, an ancient brain sitting inside a world of engineered abundance it was never built to navigate. Some researchers now argue that slowing down meals, choosing whole foods that take real effort to eat, and simply giving your gut hormones time to catch up to your brain can restore some of that lost signal. Not because it's a trick, because it's closer to the conditions your body actually expects. Which brings you back to tonight, to the fridge, to the moment after dinner when you're technically full but somehow still standing there, door open, deciding. That moment isn't weakness. It's 10,000 generations of survival instinct, quietly doing exactly what it evolved to do, reminding you, one more time, that the feast might not last. Your brain was never built to know when to stop. It was built to make sure you never had to.